विग्रह त्रिनयना माणिक्यमौली स्फुरत् तारानायक शेखरा स्मितमुखी मापीनवक्षोरुहा पाणिभ्यामलिपूर्णरत्नचषकम् रक्तोत्पलम् बिभ्रति सौम्यां रत्नघटस्थरक्तचरणां ध्यायेत् परामम्बिकाम् सततज्वर विषमज्वर ग्रह नक्षत्र दोषाञ्चान्या हर हर काली सर सर गौरी प्रमदम विद्ये आले माले काले बन्धे भज भज विद्ये मख मख विद्ये नाशय नाशय पापम् हर हर दुःस्वप्नम् विध्वंसय विध्वंसय
Namaste. Warm greetings from Indica Yoga to each one of you on the 6th International Day of Yoga. From this day onwards, we have started a month-long global festival of yoga featuring teachers from across the continents, bringing home best of the teachers, best of the kirtan singers, artists, musicians, all in the spirit of yoga. And this is our first practical session, Yoga for Mind Body Wellness by Miss Gabi Gillessen. I'm very pleased to have Gabi Gillessen in the beginning of our festival. Gabi Gillessen is the President of European Union of Yoga. European Union of Yoga is an umbrella body of more than 22 national federations of yoga federations in Europe, They are one of the premier institutes who have set standards for yoga education, yoga teacher training courses across Europe. Gabi is also the chairperson of Irish Yoga Association. She has an experience of nearly 2.5 decades of teaching yoga and has been also taking responsibilities at IYA, that is Irish Yoga Association, and European Union of Yoga. She is a continuous learner, has grown her skills under many teachers, many Indian teachers and European teachers as well. She considers Swadhyaya to be her principle, which has helped her to grow and evolve as a teacher over the years. One of the best things that I have seen about Gabi is her meticulous planning of each of the session. She plans before a session, she takes note after the session. So such is the detail to which Gabi Gillessen crafts her lessons, and we are indeed privileged to have her teaching in this first session. I invite you all to make the best of this practice, and I invite Gabi to lead from this session, this point onwards. For all the questions you might have, we have a chat box or a question answer box in the webinar tool. So you kindly keep your questions there. And at the end, we have about 5 minutes. We'll take up the questions there. Thank you very much. Over to Gabi now.
Thank you, Vinaya. I'd just like to say I'm really honored to be asked to participate on this global festival, and I do wish it every success, because I think it's a fantastic opportunity to bring people around the world together with a common interest and a common goal. So I wish you the best of luck with the festival. Just to begin with, I must say that this is not my preferred format for teaching. I would prefer to have people in front of me, to see bodies, to feel the energetic connection. So because I can see the audience, I'm keeping this session suitable for all levels of practice. So whether you're a teacher or whether you have never done yoga before, whether you're just curious about how to look after your own wellness, this session is really, I've adapted it for everybody. Yes, you might have received an email. I would like you to all have a chair and something soft, a blanket for your head. Yeah, and I think that's about all we need. I'm just thinking that, you know, we've all experienced this pandemic in the world, so, you know, it challenges even the healthiest of people, the healthiest of attitudes. It does have an impact. So I hope through this morning session, maybe we can find a little bit more balance. Okay, we're going to start in a seated position. I'm just going to move myself back a little bit. So I'd like you to take up a comfortable seated position. Position where you can have your spine upright. If you feel free to sit on the chair if sitting in this position is not appropriate or comfortable. So once you've found a seated position, I'd like you to rest your hands on your knees or thighs and consciously closing the eyes, so you draw your attention from the external inwards. Directing your attention to the contact the bottom bones have with the floor, the chair beneath you. Observing the alignment of the physical body. My shoulders over my hips, my ears over my shoulders. Once you've placed your physical body in alignment, I'd like you to bring your attention to the sensations inside your body. There's no need to engage with the sensations, to ask why they're there, to do anything about them, but with a sense of curiosity, explore. What parts of my body are spacious, open, soft? What parts of my body are dense, constricted? Don't change what you find, but observe. Bring your attention to your breath. Again, without changing the way you're breathing. And you watch the in-breath and the out-breath. Does the breath give you some information on how things are inside right now? And you acknowledge your mood. What do I feel right now? And feel it rather than thinking about feeling it. You don't have to think about, how do I feel right now? So open yourself up to the predominant emotion right now. And finally, noticing if it was easy for you to pay attention on each of those levels. Are you easily distracted? Thoughts moving you away from the present moment, the here, the now. And again, without judgment or reprimand, notice where and how is my attention right now. From attention and breath, once more feel the sensations in the body. Become aware of your contact with the floor. With the sounds around you. Bring the hands into prayer position at the center of the chest. As you breathe in, lifting the chest. As you breathe out, lowering the head and allowing the eyes to open without focusing on anything in particular. A sense of gratitude of having this time and the space to stop and connect with ourselves. So keeping that snapshot of how you are in this moment, I'm going to come up into a standing position. And maybe if you've been sitting for longer than you're used to, you might want to just give the legs a little bit of a shake. So I like to work with practical examples that people can feel. So we're going to do an exploration. I'd like you to start by just standing like you normally would stand. You can close the eyes and have a really good quick scan of the body again. What feels different when I'm standing up to when I was in a seated position? What has changed? The sensations, my breath, my mood. Here, I'd like you to allow the chest to come forward, to drop the shoulders and the head. And standing in this position, I'd like you to feel, what does this feel like? Does this change that inner landscape? Does this change my mood? And doing the opposite, we're going to lift the chest, shoulders back, head up. And again, pausing in this position, feeling, how does this feel? Does it feel different? And again, we're feeling from inside the body rather than from inside the head. Does this feel different? Doesn't matter why, how, just feel. I'm going to do that once more. I'll actually turn to the side and make it easier to see. So moving again to shoulders forward, head hanging. And in this position, I'd like you to take a deep breath in. Observe that breath. Smiling. Can I smile? Same again, lifting the chest, shoulders back, head up. Taking a deep breath here. Smiling. And I'm coming back to standing position. So again, this is really where I miss the interaction between people. But I'd like to make the point that the way we hold ourselves, the physical body, affects our mood. Our thoughts affect the position, the shape of our body, but the body also affects mood. I'm
Gabi,
not making a judgment. I'm not saying you should stand like this or you should stand like that, that one is better than the other. I'm not making a judgment. I'm merely saying that we need to bring attention to how we hold ourselves and how that can make a difference to the way we feel. Sometimes it's important to protect ourselves. Sometimes we need courage to face the world. Okay, so you might want to give those legs and feet a little bit of a shake.
Gabi, can you be a little louder, please? Because of the
Okay.
distance, it's not that clear.
Okay, no problem.
And there's also an echo happening. So see if you can avoid it.
I think the echo is the space denial.
Okay.
Yeah. Okay, so hopefully you've been able to hear me up to now. I will try and speak a little bit louder. So once you've given the legs a good shake, I'm going to come to one of the first principles that we learn in yoga. So I'd like you to place your feet parallel to each other, so toes are facing forward, heels back, outer edges of the feet parallel. Can you lift your toes, broadening from the big toe to the little toe side of the foot, creating an arch from big toe to little toe side of the foot. Keeping that contact, spread your toes back onto the floor, bringing the weight forward onto the toes and stretching back, anchoring the heels. And by pressing the four corners of your feet into the floor, see if you feel a rebound action up the legs, up the spine, into the crown of the head. If you're not sure what that means, because again it's hard to see on the camera, just relax your legs completely, do nothing with the feet and legs. And again, lifting the toes, pushing big toe, little toe side of the foot into the floor, the heels, and pushing down. So it's like a plunger. The more my feet push down, the more the energy rises through the center of the body. And this contact with the floor is really important. We need to ground, hold ourselves. So by bringing attention to the feet, which we will do throughout the session, we're coming out of the head and into the body. So the first practice we're going to do, again, I'm going to turn sideways. I'm separating my feet really wide apart. Outer edges of the feet covering the edge of my mat. I'm going to interlock my fingers behind my back. If this is difficult for you, feel free to keep your hands on your hips or your lower back. So just watch first, and then you can practice together. And just to say, to begin with, this is really not suitable for anybody who's pregnant. So we're going to bring the thighs forward, lift the chest. We're going to bend the back, looking up. And then we're going to close the crease where the hips and thighs meet. Bending the knees, lengthening the trunk of the body over the thighs, lowering the head. When we lift up, keeping those knees bent until very last, straightening the legs, and then going back and forward. So hopefully you've started the practice already, moving from one posture to the next. And if you like, you can spend maybe 2 breaths in each posture. 2 breaths folding forward, 2 breaths bending back. Do I have a preference over one position or the other? Can I feel how strongly my feet need to connect with the floor? To give my body the chance to move forward and backward. And I'd like you to try one more thing just before we move on. I'd like you here to close the eyes. Close the eyes as you bend forward and as you bend back. And notice the difference. What is the difference? Practicing with my eyes open, practicing with my eyes closed. Again, if we were in a room together, I would ask you to stay in the position that resonates the most for you this morning, physically or mentally, emotionally. Which posture do I feel I need? And I would encourage you to stay in that position for at least 3 breaths. And whichever position you're in, coming out really slowly. If you're in the forward fold, uncurl it, 1 vertebrae at a time, keeping the knees bent until the very end. If you're in the backward, using the feet to lift the body back up into the standing position. And pause, feel. What are the sensations in my body now? How is my breath? How is my mood? We'll notice that these forward and backward bending positions are really important when it comes to balancing mood. We're feeling really anxious, bringing the weight forward, the head down, quietens the nervous system. If the mood is really low, working from the feet up into a lifted chest energizes us. So we're going to use the chair, and I'll show you. When we work with the chair, it's really important to always have at least two of the legs on a non-slip surface. So just be careful. I prefer your chair not to move at all. I'm going to place forearm on top of forearm, resting my forward on the back of my forearms, and I'm going to step my legs back. You have two choices here. If you feel a strong stretch in the backs of the legs, you can bend the knees, or you can separate the feet. The wider the legs are apart, the easier it is to fold forward. But in this position, I'd like you to let go the weight of the head completely. The heavier the head, the quieter the mind. Sending the crease where the hips and thighs meet back, anchoring the feet to the floor. Allow the head to release. I'd like you to stay here for 3 breaths. Breathing in deeply. And with each exhalation, allowing the head to become even more heavy. The head becoming even more empty. Keeping the head heavy, I'm going to walk the feet towards the chair so that the head stays passive. The head stays passive. Pausing again to feel what was the effect of having my head supported on my body, on my mind. Did that position make me feel supported, quiet? Or was I feeling agitated, wanting to move again? Just notice the effect of the posture on your being. I'm going to stay with the chair. Again, I'll demonstrate, and maybe you could watch me before you practice yourselves. I'm going to move my chair back a little bit. And I'm going to sit on the very front edge of the chair. So I'm showing you this, we're still working with the principle of bending forwards and bending backwards. But I really feel that what we need to do is train ourselves to stop at various intervals during the day and just to check in and see how am I feeling. And I think this is really appropriate for an office situation. Tendencies for like after lunch for the energy to really drop. So this is my counter to waking up the body. So I'm going to hold on to the backrest of the chair, And I'm either going to pull the chair towards me, lifting the chest, or I'm going to push the heels of my hands into the chair to lift the chest. Both work, whatever feels more appropriate for you. So this is the lifting of the chest, the lifting of the energy, lifting of the mood. So do try this with me now, and we'll stay in this position for a few breaths. Again, if you walk with the eyes open for a few breaths, walk with the eyes closed for a few breaths, and see, what is the difference? Do I need that externalization to keep me present in the here and now? Or does it feel better to close the eyes, to bring my attention inward? And from lifting the energy, we're going to separate the feet a little bit wider apart, resting elbows and knees and thighs, and letting the head hang. It seems to me that when people get bad news, the body instinctively wants to fold forward, to protect itself, to quieten, to process. So you have two choices here. You can stay in this position, or if you'd like to take it one step further, sliding elbows up the knees or thighs and letting the head hang. But in both situations, you're not using the head to lift you up. The arms lift you back halfway. And then to come all the way up using the hands resting on the thighs, pressing the hands into the thighs so that the head lifts passively. Just before we move on, I'd like you to try both of those again once more, noticing again the difference between each, which you prefer. Do I need this waking up position, this upliftment? Is that what my body and mind need? Or do I need to quieten? Do I need to relax? So I'd like you to repeat both once more, observing. And this is how we have some control, some effect over our well-being, is that we can stop checking what do we need and do an appropriate adjustment to balance the mood again. We're going to stay with the chair for the next practice. And you can see I'm sitting skew on the chair. And I think this is the backrest of the chair to my right. So if possible, I'd like you to sit with the backrest of the chair to your right. I'm sitting on the front edge of the chair, which might not feel very comfortable, but my feet are pressing strongly into the floor, my knees are over my ankles, so I'm really well grounded, my trunk can lift. I'm going to take my right arm and place it on the far edge, far end of the backrest of the chair. I'm going to take my left hand to the closest edge here, relaxing my shoulders away from my ears. Before I twist, I'm going to check, are my knees level? I want to make sure that one knee isn't forward of the other. Keeping the feet and hips grounded, I'm going to push with my right hand, pull with my left hand as I turn to look over my right shoulder. I'm going to just turn my head to face you again. Keep the head looking over the right shoulder. And take a few deep breaths here. The bottom bones are rooted and grounded on the chair. Everything above the navel turns, shoulders away from ears. Taking a few deep breaths. After your next exhalation, I'd like you to turn just your head to look forward. Just the head. Again, looking at your knees. Have my knees stayed level? Have my knees moved? And then release the arms and the trunk. Pausing for a moment to feel again one side of the body compared to the other. Balancing is known to be just that, balancing on energy, balancing on mood. So the twists, I meant to say, very balancing postures. So we have to do the opposite side. So I'm going to take my chair and turn it. So that now the backrest of the chair is to my left. Sitting on the front half of the seat of the chair. And again, really aware of the feet. Really aware of the position of the knees over the ankles. The bottom bones level on the chair, length in the trunk of the body. Shoulders away from the ears. So this time, left hand to the far end of the backrest of the chair, right hand to the closer edge. Before you do anything again, watch the knees. Make sure the knees are level, the buttock bones are super glued to your chair. And this time we're going to pull with the right, push with the left. Head looking over the left shoulder. Again, stay in that position. Relax the shoulders away from the ears. And breathe. If you'd like here to again take a few breaths with the eyes open. A few breaths with the eyes closed. And compare the difference. Getting to know your own needs in the practice. After your next exhalation, then turning just the head, checking the knees, the alignment of the legs and feet, and then releasing the arms. And pausing to feel again the sensations on the right side and the left side of the spine. To observe your breath, your mood, what has changed. I'm going to move to the floor. I think you should be able to see, I might turn my camera just slightly. I'm going to keep the chair close by, and I'll show you why. So again, if you bear with me, I will demonstrate, and then you can join in the practice. Just going to lie down, keeping the chair close by. I'm going to lie down, on my back. So you should still be able to see me. I'll talk a little louder so that you can hear. So again, just please watch, and if you're lying down already, never turn your head like I'm doing now. You're going to keep the head looking up at the ceiling. We're going to break this practice into two practices. Starting using breath, breathing in, lifting away from the floor, breathing out as you reconnect the spine to the floor. breathing in and a breathing out. That will be the first practice. The second time, we're going to lift the spine. We're going to stay in this position, continuing to breathe. And we're going to use the arms to increase the lift of the chest. So those are the two practices that we're going to do now. So I'd like you to lie down on the floor, keeping the knees bent, heels in line with the butt of bones, making sure you're resting on the center of the back of the head, that your head and neck are in a straight line. Head, neck and spine in a straight line. Remember the work we did with the feet at the beginning of the session? So really anchoring the four corners of each foot. Base of the big toe, base of the little toe, inner heel, outer heel. As you breathe in, pressing those four corners of the feet into the floor, lifting the pelvis, lifting the spine. As you breathe out, returning the spine to the floor. Use your own breath. Don't wait for me to tell you when to breathe. And as you continue to lift and to lower, making sure you honor the arch, the natural arch in the back of the neck. Please don't push to the point where you're flattening the back of the neck. So continuing, the in-breath lifting. It takes great courage to bring the spine away from gravity. A lot of courage needed. As you come back, really consciously anchoring the spine to the floor. Really making that contact, that connection. I'd like you to continue for 3 more of these breaths. 3 in breaths and 3 out breaths. Everybody's length of breath is different, but when you've completed your 3, pause for a moment. We're going to repeat this once more, but holding the posture. So again, make sure that your heels are in line with your butt bones, that the feet are well spread on the floor. Pressing the 4 corners of each foot into the floor as you lift the spine, but this time staying in this position. Staying in the position. Continue to breathe naturally, normally. Don't stop breathing. Feel by pushing the feet strongly into the floor. The same way as we did when we were standing. Can I feel the energy coming up my legs? If my feet are actively pushing into the floor, there is a lift of the pelvic floor and the abdominal wall. So you've got the bandhas activated. Pada bandha, Mula bandha, Uddiyana bandha. If you lift the arms towards the ceiling, fingertips facing the ceiling, bend the elbows, pushing the upper arms evenly into the floor to lift the chest a little bit higher. Keeping that natural curve in the back of the neck, keeping softness in the throat. Stay in this position. and breathe. Let the breath internally support the shape your body is in. Each in-breath lifting from the feet up through the body, expanding the chest a little bit more. Each out-breath, reconnecting the shoulders and the feet with the earth, growing roots, being held, sense of foundation. I'd like you to stay for 3 more breaths here. 3 in-breaths and 3 out-breaths. When you've taken your 3 breaths, very consciously on an exhalation, reattach the spine to the floor. The sense of that grounding, that rooting into the earth. And again, pausing to observe, giving time for the sensations in the body to be integrated, absorbed. As you can see, it's really difficult for me to do the practice and talk. I'm so used to sitting up to watch my students. Hard for me to visualize you doing what I've asked, the timing. So I'm presuming you're still lying on the floor with the knees bent, that you've taken time to integrate, to observe, to feel the effect of the last practice on body and mind. If you're close enough to the chair, we could bring the legs to rest on the seat of the chair. And we're going to take a few moments here as almost as a Shavasana practice. Again, I'll sit up in a few moments and talk you through it. But you're going to come to rest with the legs on the chair, and we're going to straighten one leg at a time, keeping the back of the leg against the chair. So I'm not just lifting my leg, I am resting the back of the leg against the chair. I'm going to alternate one leg and then the other. So if you could lie down, or you should still be lying down, if you could move closer to the chair and begin to straighten one leg at a time. You can work at a speed or a pace that suits your body. You could stay for a good few breaths in this position before changing sides. But I would really urge you not to do both legs together unless your chair is against a wall. As you continue this practice for a few more times, I'm once again going to roll over and come up to a seated position. But please do continue to straighten the legs one by one. As I said, this is where I would do a short Shavasana practice. Again, resting the legs or having the legs raised has a very quietening effect on the nervous system. So anybody who's feeling stressed, anxious, having the legs raised in Shavasana is beneficial. Or if our mood is really low, if we're feeling unenergized, I would suggest the chest being supported in the practice of Shavasana. Once you've evened up the legs, lifting the legs one by one, I'd like you to rest the calves on the seat of the chair again now, and allow the legs to rest completely. The calves spreading into the seat of the chair, the weight of the hips releasing into the floor, the shoulders, the head. Just pause. Nothing to do. Just taking these few moments to integrate the practice. And again, it would be so nice to see you all. What I'd like you to do is to bring the knees now close to your chest, away from the chair, knees close to your chest. If you have the space, rolling over onto your right side, and pause on your right side for a moment. You can use your right arm to support the head. But pausing, resting on your right side. You can cover the eyes with your left hand, allowing the eyes to open gradually. And then use that left hand to lift you back up into a seated position. Coming back up into a seated position. I was intending to do some breath work now to explore the effect on the in-breath and the out-breath, the effect of the breath on the body and the nervous system. But I'm afraid that if we're to take some questions still, we're very short of time. I would like to finish with a practice that is very beneficial for quietening those thoughts that can so often distract us. So again, I feel like I'm speaking into a void, but I trust there's people there and that you're going to join me in this practice. So if you could take a moment to sit again in an upright position, feel free to sit in the chair if you prefer, if you need. Allow the eyes to close and bring your attention inwards once more. I'd like you to repeat after me. May I be well. May I be happy. May I be at peace. May you be well. May you be happy. May you be at peace. May we be well. May we be happy. May we be at peace. Om Shanti. Thank you, everybody.
Thank you, Gabi, for this wonderful session and also for the closing, bringing out the three main qualities that we aspire for: wellness, happiness, and peace. Thank you so much.
You're very welcome. Thank you.
Maybe we can take a couple of questions. Before that, I would like to apologize for the voice. It was not clear at some times because of various things, but we had about 100 participants who have joined us for this session. And there's one question about a practice here.
Yes.
So it was about how many sets, how many repetition for each exercise?
That's a bit like asking, what's the average shoe size, but like it really does depend on if you're trying to restore the body's health. I would do fewer repetitions, but more often. If I'm trying to build up stamina and strength, then I would probably do a little bit more, but it's a very difficult question to ask unless you know the person and you know their needs. But I really am a very firm believer of a little bit of practice at a regular interval during the day is much better than 2 hours of practice and then nothing until the next day. So I hope that helps.
Thank you. There's also one observation by one of the participants where this is, in India, they teach it slightly differently, and this approach is slightly different. So what would you like to say about it? Before you respond, I just have I'm not an answer, but a response to this question. The whole purpose of having this festival is to bring out this variety, richness, and exuberance of the tradition. The tradition has various branches and offshoots and manifestations, and this festival is an opportunity to bring all of them together, which are all having an authentic root in the tradition. So over to you. What would you like to say about this?
I'd like to say that I suppose the style of teaching comes from very much from my own experience, but also my experiences teaching for the Irish Yoga Association. And very much the body is not seen as a mechanical instrument that just does movement. The physical body can give us so much information about the emotions, the mind. The physical body is the gross mind, so to speak. So I suppose there is an exploration of what the sensations, it's kind of using the body to work your way back to the mind. And I don't know if that makes sense at all, but that there's more to physical practice than a mechanical repetition, a mechanical working of the body. And again, I'm not sure even if that's answering his question or her question. Sorry. But so I think teaching comes from your own, or must come from your own experience more than anything, rather than mimicking other people's teachings. Really have to find your own and allow that to come to the fore.
Thank you. But I remember in one of the recent interviews you had mentioned, yoga must be taught in a way faithful to the tradition of the sages. So how do you see these two ideas?
The one I've just said and the one you've just asked about. But if you look at the 8 limbs of yoga, it starts even before the asana. So there is something that comes before even the physical body. And as we work our way to the more subtle levels, we do know that they're all part of the same thing, that the subtle and the gross are the same thing, just different substance. And for some people, it's much easier to come from the subtle aspects to connect to the body. And for other people, it's through the body, through the physical body, that you kind of reach those subtle moments, those subtle points, those subtle aspects. So I think that, and what I mean by staying true to the tradition is to see that connection, that you can't take the physical body and just do exercise. That's not the point of, to me, that's not the point of yoga, that's not the point of asana practice. That it serves a purpose, and it's not about, you know, yeah, it's not like taking it into a gym and just doing that. It has an effect on all the different levels of your being, and we should respect that.
Thank you, Gabi. And there's also one question about the timings of practice. When would be the best time to do these practices?
I think that the point I was trying to make with this practice or this class is that, you know, check in with yourself every now and again. Check in first thing in the morning. How am I? Check in at lunchtime before you sit down to eat. Take that moment to go, okay, how am I? Have things changed? And that will really determine the type of practice you do as well, or when to practice. Generally speaking, mornings is going to set you up for the day. It's going to set the tone for your day. It's going to loosen you after sleep. So a gentler practice in the morning isn't a bad idea. And a practice at the end of the day is like, you know, preparing yourself for sleep, putting the day aside. So both are very beneficial. It just depends on how much you have time to do. You know, do you have a little bit of time in the morning and the evening? Or, you know, what's the best thing for you? Is it better to let go of the day, or to prepare myself for the day that I'm going to have? So there's very many variables, and it's really important though to find what works for you.
Okay. Complementary question to that. So, do you have any recommendation for the age group for these practices, or any guideline regarding the age?
I would really see it more as, you know, you can have a good age and have a very flexible body. You can be young and be really stiff. So I think the practice I did this morning is really accessible to everybody, regardless of age. My mother has, she's 86, and she has some problems with her lower back. So the practice where we had the legs on the chair, we were straightening one leg at a time. She finds that very beneficial, and it's quite accessible for her. You know, even if you're bedridden, you can still lift the legs or lift the chest to get some benefit from the practice. So I think what I did today is quite accessible to most people, but again, obviously it really depends on their flexibility. But I would again say that a little bit at whatever age is really important.
Okay, Gabby, thank you. Thank you for that personal note also. That was very inspiring to know your mother at the age of 85 still practicing these yoga techniques. So many people here will be inspired and take it along with them.
Yes.
So thank you for this lovely session. We have a lot of comments who have thanked you, and we have also have some wishes from Dublin coming in. So we have people joining us from across the globe, I believe. And thank you once again. And also would like to thank you on behalf of Indica Yoga for partnering us with us on this festival. Thank you.
And thank you very much. I wish you every success for this festival. May it be the first of many, Vinaya. Thank you.
Thank you. And thank you to all our participants. Thank you very much.